Get on the nostalgia bandwagon here, Mandeep, and walk us through what's happening here. It does feel like there was a bit of a lag. Obviously, a lot of excitement and enthusiasm for these new upstarts, now on target to be worth many hundreds of billions of dollars in terms of valuation. But what accounts for these legacy companies having a moment right now?
Well, all these companies were growing, mid to high single digit at best, top line growth. And suddenly, because everyone is looking to upgrade their infrastructure to run more AI workloads, a company like Dell is guiding to almost, 48% top line growth. And yes, they are, benefiting from a new line of AI servers, which didn't exist 2-3 years back. But when you look at the size of these companies and the way they were growing in the past decade, and now suddenly, everyone is talking about sustaining that double-digit growth, that's what's driving a reset in expectations.
Dell stock popping 33%.
It was crazy. I mean, Mandy, we did that live on Tim and Carol's show. It was insane. The other stock that we talked about a lot this week is Snowflake, and I want to come back to that because the first thing I want to hit with you is talk to us a little bit about the difference between these kind of legacy physical AIs versus AI agents and why you're seeing more growth in one part than you are as you see almost a little bit of a slump in some of the AI softwares as users decide what they're actually getting an ROI on.
I mean, all these companies that are tied at the database layer, they're having their moment right now because when you talk about agentic deployments, you have to connect your enterprise database with these LLMs, and it's driving more queries for a company like Snowflake. And on top of that, Snowflake has launched their own coding agent. And we know coding agent is the real sort of big category of software that has emerged with the help of LLMs. So really, they are in that right spot. Obviously, initially, the market treated everyone equally in terms of, all the SaaS names getting clobbered. But now you're finding those spots within the SaaS market that are actually going to benefit with, more agentic AI, more use of coding agents. And I think Snowflake probably is one of them.
Let me pivot to the flashier, newer companies here for a moment, because I think the parlor game of the moment is the dueling IPOs rather between OpenAI and Anthropic, and we saw Anthropic taking the lead this week, becoming the front runner. And I'm curious how you see that binary unfolding as we push ahead to those IPOs, the way that Anthropic is positioning itself vis-a-vis OpenAI and vice versa.
Yeah, look, Anthropic started off the year at around a $10 billion revenue run rate. They're already close to $47 billion in run rate in 5 months. And the projections are they will probably end the year at a $100 billion revenue run rate. So it's a straight 10x, and they had a 10x last year as well. And these kind of hyper growth rates are really something that we haven't seen probably in the last 20, 30 years. And, when I look at OpenAI, they had the lead, but it seems like in terms of growth rates, there's no doubt that Anthropic has the advantage. And even with SpaceX, they're trying to pivot to NeoCloud. The acquisition of Cursor is a huge kind of inflection point in terms of, shifting XAI towards growth. But Anthropic is by far the leader when it comes to, these kind of growth rates, and they seem to be sustainable for the time being.
It's interesting to me that you're seeing a harder investment on almost like the back end of this, like the physical servers and the memory space, and while you're seeing some hesitation on the software side, depending on what the software does. And Mandeep taught me a new word this week, David Gura. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
I think I'm going to get it right. Disintermediation. You don't want to get disintermediated. Mandeep, what does that mean?
6 syllables, if I'm counting.
And why does it matter? And why is it more important it's easier for some of these integrated companies to keep their market share, whereas you said ones that are like a node and an add-on can get removed more quickly.
Look at you.
Look, I learned things. Mandeep taught me things, but explain it better, please, because that wasn't...
I mean, look, the computing stack is changing. And, when we think about LLMs, this sort of layer didn't exist. The model intelligence layer is a new sort of addition to the computing stack that we have, accustomed to over the past 20, 30 years. And from that perspective, you have to see what is this model layer going to do going forward versus, how the computing stack was organized before. And that's where, you want to make sure that you are part of that modern computing stack with the LLM layer. And that's where someone like Snowflake has pivoted very nicely, in terms of making sure that they're not trying to compete with the LLM layer, but really serving something that the LLM needs to deploy that agentic functionality. And that's not going to be the case for every software company. So really, the more you are adjusting your business model to make sure you're aligned with the LLM layer, I think the better prospects you have going forward.
Mandeep, you've got the OG tech companies, you've got the kind of boring or historically boring tech company as well. And Lisa and I sat down with Jeetu Patel, who's the president at Cisco, just to tease an interview we're going to play a little bit later in the show. And I mean, he's wildly excited about the new Cisco and all Cisco is going to do. Yes, we think of it as this networking company, but it sees great opportunity when it comes to AI, a chance to kind of reinvent itself or have a kind of renaissance as a result of AI. Are there other companies like Cisco that you're watching that are going through a similar sort of reinvention or thinking about ways in which they can kind of rebrand or reanimate themselves because of AI?
I mean, right now, everything on the hardware semiconductor side is going through a complete transformation. These were supposed to be, commoditized companies that had no pricing power. Suddenly, you look at all of the chip categories. We know hardware is in great demand, across the board because the entire computing stack is being reimagined. The traditional chips are just not good enough to, run these modern AI workloads. And that's where the compute density is what's driving these major shifts across the board.